My mom died when I was 7. Even while dying, she saved every penny for me, so I'd have a chance at the life she never got. That money was her final gift. Her voice living on through me. Years later, my dad remarried. His new wife called me a dragon for not sharing it. My dad said I owed it to my siblings. When I said no, they called me selfish. And then she said the one thing you never say about a dead woman's son, so I walked out. But I didn't walk away empty-handed. Let's just say they thought I was weak. They thought I'd cave. They have no idea what I just did. If you had one final gift from your mother, one she fought to protect even while dying, would you give it away to the family that replaced her? I haven't told anyone this before. Not really. Not the full story. And even now as I write this, there's a part of me that wants to backspace every word and pretend none of it happened. But I can't keep carrying this weight alone. Maybe writing it down will help me breathe a little easier. My name is Ethan. I'm 17, and in a few months, I'll be 18, legally an adult. But I don't feel like one. Not really. On paper, I've done all the things that should make me feel grown. I get myself up every morning, make my own breakfast, manage my own schedule, and stay on top of schoolwork. I've been working part-time at a local bookstore for almost a year now. Quiet work, peaceful in its own way. I've saved almost every paycheck because I know better than to rely on anyone else. People say I'm mature for my age, responsible, grounded. But inside I still feel like the kid who used to hide under the covers, listening to my mom breathe heavily in her sleep when the chemo made her too tired to talk. That's the version of me that sticks, the scared one. The one who grew up too fast, who stopped being a child long before he was ready. My mom's name was Laura. She wasn't just my mom. She was my world. She was the kind of person who could carry a whole room with her warmth, who'd make strangers feel like old friends within minutes. She smelled like lavender and chamomile, and her laugh could cut through even the darkest day. She had a way of making ordinary things like Tuesday night dinners or walks to the park feel like small celebration. My earliest memories are of her in the kitchen, humming Beatles songs as she stirred something on the stove, or sitting cross-legged on the floor helping me with alphabet puzzles while dinner simmered behind her. She worked 2 jobs at one point, one at a local clinic during the day and another doing night shifts at a grocery store, just to make sure I never went without. She never complained, never made me feel like I was a burden. Instead, she made every moment we had together count. She'd save half her sandwich if she thought I was still hungry, or stay up late helping me with science homework, even when her eyes were heavy with exhaustion. She was tired a lot, especially near the end, but she always found the strength to smile when I walked into the room. When I was little, I used to crawl into her bed in the early mornings and snuggle into the crook of her arm while she hummed those Beatles songs, her voice soft and raspy. Her touch made everything feel safe. I thought she was invincible. That kind of love, that kind of presence burns itself into you, it never leaves. And that's what made losing her so unbearable. She died when I was 7. Cancer. The kind that sneaks in quietly and tears through everything you love before you realize what's happening. The last year of her life was a slow, painful unraveling. I remember the way her skin turned paper thin, how she lost weight so quickly her clothes hung off her like they belonged to someone else. Some days, she couldn't keep anything down, not even water. She spent hours curled up on the couch, her body wrapped in layers of blankets even in summer, shivering from the inside out. Her hair started falling out in clumps, and she'd joke about it to make me smile. Guess I won't need a Halloween wig this year. But I saw the pain in her eye. I saw how hard she tried to hide it. Near the end, she couldn't walk without help. I remember pushing her in a wheelchair through the hospital halls, pretending we were racing just to make her laugh. Her breath would catch after a few steps, like her lungs were drowning in something invisible. The chemo robbed her of her strength, her appetite, and eventually even her voice, but not her will. She'd whisper stories to me late at night, her voice barely audible, her hand always finding mine even when she was too weak to lift it on her own. She never stopped being my mom, never stopped loving me with everything she had left, even when there was almost nothing left at all. And I don't think I've ever really healed from that. But that's not the only thing that broke me back then. What shattered me, more than the sickness itself, was what happened around it. The way the world kept moving as if my mother's slow fade didn't matter. The way the people closest to us failed to show up when we needed them most. And the biggest betrayal of all, the one that still pulses under my skin like a bruise that won't heal, was my father. My dad David cheated on her. I found out years later, but honestly, part of me always knew. I might have been a kid, but I wasn't blind. I saw the missed calls, the sudden hushed conversations, the late nights when he wasn't home. And worst of all, I saw the look in my mom's eyes when she pretended not to. That quiet knowing, that heartbreak she never gave a voice to, because she was too busy dying with dignity. While she was fighting for her life, he was finding comfort in someone else's arms. That betrayal runs so deep, it carved something permanent in me. She was in and out of the hospital, barely holding on, and suddenly there was this woman who started coming around. Her name was Monica. She wasn't some shadowy secret. She was bold, visible, helping with dishes, bringing food, acting like she belonged in a house that still reeked of my mom's last breaths. I remember resenting her presence with everything in me, even though I didn't fully understand why back then. But now I do, because Monica wasn't just another woman. She was the beginning of my mom's erasure. She wasn't cruel, at least not outright, but she had this way of looking at me like I was a guest in her house, a reminder of something she didn't like to acknowledge. They got married a year after my mom passed. 1 year. As if 12 months was enough to bury a decade of love and grief. I still remember standing stiffly in the too tight shirt Monica picked out for me, the collar choking me like her expectations. I refused to smile for the wedding pictures, not because I was being difficult, but because nothing about that day felt like it belonged to me. It felt like my mom's memory was being paved over, replaced by something glossy and forced and wrong. David didn't ask me if I was okay, not once. He didn't sit me down, didn't acknowledge what I'd lost or how fast everything was moving. He just smiled tightly and said, "This is our family now. Try to be happy," as if happiness was something I could summon on command, as if loyalty didn't matter. That's what stung the most. His refusal to even pretend to understand. That moment crystallized something inside me, the realization that I couldn't count on him to protect what mattered to me. I tried. I really did. Monica had a daughter, Chloe, who was a year younger than me. She was smart, driven, the kind of kid teachers loved and classmates quietly resented. And then, a few years later, Monica and my dad had a son together, Logan. He's 5 now, all curls and giggles and sticky hands. He calls me his best friend. That kills me in a way I can't explain. Because I love him. And I even care about Chloe. Neither of them asked for any of this. They didn't choose to be part of whatever mess the adults around them created. They just happened to be there. Same as I did, but love doesn't erase hurt. Monica never treated me like one of her own. She wasn't overtly cruel, not the type to scream or throw things, but she had a way of making me feel invisible in my own home. Sometimes, though, she dropped the act altogether. There were moments when her mask slipped, and something colder came through. When I made a mistake, spilled juice, forgot a chore, tracked dirt in from outside, she wouldn't just scold me, she'd belittle me. She'd sneer and say things like, "Figures. With a mother like yours, that woman couldn't keep a house clean if her life depended on it." Or worse, maybe if your mom hadn't been so useless, she could have taught you something. But no, all she did was die and leave a mess behind. Every time she said things like that, it felt like a slap across the face. I'd bite my tongue until it bled just to keep from screaming. She knew exactly where to hit to make it hurt. She'd imply I was lazy, clueless, slow, all while fawning over Chloe's latest report card or Logan's new painting on the fridge. She acted like my failures were genetic, like I was defective because of who my mother was. And yet, she never once considered that maybe I was falling behind because I was raising myself under her roof. Maybe I was quiet because no one wanted to hear me. Maybe I was tired because I was carrying too much, too young, with no one to lean on. It wasn't just neglect, it was erasure, a constant effort to rewrite the story, to make my mother the villain and herself the savior. And I hated her for it. I hated how easily she dismissed everything good my mom had been, how effortlessly she turned my grief into a punchline. That kind of cruelty doesn't come from ignorance. It comes from choice. And she made that choice again and again. She doted on Chloe and Logan, made sure they had the best clothes, warm lunches, birthday parties with balloons and custom cakes. Meanwhile, I was expected to be grateful for hand-me-downs and whatever leftovers were in the fridge. She never once packed me a lunch or asked how school was going. She'd smile politely at parent-teacher conferences and then forget whatever was said 5 minutes later. When I was younger, I learned quickly not to ask for too much. I did my own laundry by the time I was 10, made my own meals, learned how to be small and quiet in a house where I was only a tolerated presence. If Chloe needed something, Monica would stop everything to help. If I did, I was told to figure it out myself. But Chloe and Logan, they were different. Chloe, despite being Monica's daughter, never treated me like a stranger. She saw me, truly saw me. And Logan, he just loved me, unconditionally, without question. Sometimes when Monica was mad at me for something small, forgetting to take out the trash, leaving my shoes by the door, she'd skip me at dinner. But Chloe would sneak into my room later with a granola bar or a plate of food she saved from the kitchen. Logan would give me one of his juice boxes and curl up next to me like nothing had happened. The three of us, we became our own little team, not because the adults brought us together, but in spite of them. We played board games on the floor of my room, built blanket forts in the living room when no one was home, shared stories and secrets we never told anyone else. They are the only reason I didn't completely lose myself in that house. The only real warmth I have. They are my family not because of blood, but because we chose each other. And sometimes, that's the only kind of family that matters. When I was 16, my grandparents sat me down in their living room, the same one that still smelled faintly of piped tobacco and lemon cleaner. The air felt heavy that day, like something sacred was about to be shared. Richard and Maggie, my mom's parents, had something important to tell me. They told me about the money. At first, I didn't understand. I blinked at them, confused, thinking maybe I'd heard wrong. Money? What money? Then they explained, slowly, gently. From the moment I was born, my mom had started saving every small bonus, every extra paycheck, anything she could spare. She opened a college fund in my name and treated it like a second heartbeat, something alive and growing alongside me. Even when she got sick, she never stopped adding to it. In fact, she doubled down. She knew she wouldn't be around to guide me through adulthood, so she wanted to make sure I'd have options, freedom, safety. And then, after she passed, my grandparents took over where she left off. Every holiday, every milestone, they tucked something away for me. They even downsized their home and lived frugally for years to keep adding to that account. Then, about a year and a half before that conversation, they sold the family business, a business they'd built from scratch over decades of hard work. Every dollar from that sale, every single cent went into my name. They didn't keep a cent for themselves. Your mom wanted you to have choices, Grandma Maggie said, her voice trembling but proud. She wanted to make sure no one could take that away from you. She wanted you to be able to live the life she never got to. My throat tightened, so fast I could barely swallow. I didn't cry right then. I couldn't. It was too much to take in at once. But later that night, I lay awake in the guest room staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me until my eyes burned. It wasn't just the money, it was what it represented. A lifetime of sacrifice. Love woven into every dollar. It was my mother's legacy, carefully preserved, lovingly passed on. The amount is somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million. I don't know the exact figure. I only know it's enough to change the entire course of my life. Enough to mean I'd never be trapped, never be cornered. Enough to mean I could breathe, maybe for the first time. And maybe that's where I went wrong telling my dad about it. At first, I didn't plan to. He wasn't even talking to me about college as if it were a real option. He and Monica had already decided I wouldn't be going. They said college was a luxury, and in our family we had to be practical. Monica flat out told me that since I wasn't as bright as Chloe, I should start looking at trade work, or maybe take over some bills around the house. David said he expected me to help pay down the family's credit card debt, and maybe pitch in for Chloe's tuition if she didn't land a full ride. They even hinted I should delay college for a few years. Get a job, be useful. You're not some golden child, Monica had said with a little laugh. Still, he kept pushing me in a different way, talking vaguely about responsibilities, about helping the family, about how hard they worked and how much they sacrificed. He brought up loans, budgeting, and how not everything in life comes easy. I finally told him I'd be fine, that I had money. I finally told him I'd be fine, that I had money. He asked how. I explained. The look on his face shifted from confusion to disbelief, to something darker. He didn't say much at first, just nodded. But that evening, he came home with my favorite takeout, asked if I wanted to watch a movie, even offered to help me go through college brochures. It felt strange, forced, like a performance. For a second I thought maybe he was just happy for me, that maybe he was proud. But later that night, I overheard him talking to Monica in the kitchen. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but the walls in our house are thin. He's sitting on a fortune, Monica said, and we're killing ourselves trying to make ends meet. It's not our money, David said. It's Laura's. There was a long pause. Still, she said, he could share. Chloe's working herself to the bone for a shot at college. Logan could have a future without debt. It's selfish to keep it all for himself. That was the first time I realized they expected me to split it. David brought it up the next day. He came into my room, his voice unusually gentle. Hey Ethan, I've been thinking what your mom and grandparents did for you. It's incredible. You're lucky, you know? Not everyone gets that kind of start in life. I nodded, unsure where he was going. I looked him in the eye and told him no, calmly, directly. I'm not sharing it. It was never meant for anyone else. I just think, maybe, if you set some of it aside for your siblings, it would mean the world to them. Even a small amount. Chloe's scholarships don't cover everything. And Logan, well, you know how much we've struggled. We're a family, right? His face hardened instantly, the warmth draining like someone had flipped a switch. You're being selfish? He snapped. I raised you better than this. Did you? I asked. my voice barely above a whisper, because it doesn't feel like you raised me at all. What's going on? She asked. Too sweet, too sharp. He doesn't want to help his siblings, David said, his tone bitter. He stood there, stunned, and then Monica walked in. Monica scoffed. Your mom? Please. That woman barely knew how to take care of herself. Look at you. Stubborn, ungrateful, messy. She didn't teach you anything but how to wallow. Monica folded her arms, lips pressed into a thin line. Wow, so all that money and you're going to hoard it like some kind of dragon? Must be nice not to care about anyone but yourself. I do care, I said. But this isn't about that. It's about my mom. What she wanted. But this time, it was worse. She didn't stop at guilt-tripping me. She weaponized the love I had for Chloe and Logan. She said things like, you say you love them, but you won't even help them have a future. Chloe could actually get into her dream school with that money. Logan could have a college fund. She leaned in closer, her voice softer, calculated. You're all they have. They look up to you. Think about how they'll feel when they realize you chose to abandon them. And that's when I lost it. Don't talk about my mom, I snapped. You weren't there when she cried herself to sleep. You didn't hold her hand in the hospital. You don't get to decide what she would have wanted. She looked stunned, like I'd slapped her, but I didn't feel sorry, not even a little. Because she didn't love me. Not really. She tolerated me, smiled at me in public, and rolled her eyes behind closed doors. She called me David's boy, never my son, and now she wanted to use my mom's love and my siblings as leverage to get a cut of something that was never hers to begin with. It didn't stop there. David joined in again that evening, trying a different approach, calm at first, almost pleading. Just think about what this could mean for them, he said. You know Chloe wants to be a lawyer. You could help make that happen. And Logan, he's just a kid. He looks up to you more than anyone. When I told him no again, his expression changed, the warmth drained, replaced by cold resentment. Then don't expect this family to look at you the same, he said. You think that money makes you special? It doesn't. It just shows how alone you really are. Monica added under her breath. Laura would be ashamed of what you've become. That broke something in me. That broke something in me. But this time, instead of shouting, I went quiet. The kind of quiet that makes people uneasy. The kind of quiet that says, I'm done talking. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed staring out the window, thinking about everything they'd said, twisting my mom's love, using my siblings as leverage, and calling me selfish for holding on to the only thing that still felt like her. And I realized something. I couldn't keep letting them decide how this story ends. So I did what they never expected. I acted like an adult. The next morning, I called Mr. Ellsworth, my grandparents' old attorney. I remembered his name from the framed Christmas cards, still pinned to their fridge. He picked up after 2 rings, and after I told him who I was, his voice shifted, warm, steady, like someone who still remembered my mom the way I did. He helped me move everything into a trust, my name only. We added protections. No one, not David, not Monica, not even I, could touch the principal until I turned 21, unless it was for college expenses or medical emergencies. The rest got transferred to a separate account with dual authentication. Then I changed every password. I flagged in my college applications for identity monitoring. I filed a fraud report on the strange email that had nearly cost me my admissions. And when I was done, I drafted a single letter addressed to my father and Monica. Not angry, not even long, just the truth. You don't get to speak for me. Not to colleges, not to banks, not to anyone. You taught me what manipulation looks like. My mother taught me what strength is. I'm done letting you rewrite the story. I printed it, signed it, left it in the kitchen under Monica's favorite coffee mug. And just to be crystal clear, I taped a copy of the legal notice beside the fridge, the same fridge where Logan's paintings hung and where I was never allowed space for mine. No yelling, no revenge speech, just silence, and a lock they couldn't pick. We were all yelling then. The walls echoed with accusations, years of unspoken bitterness finally boiling over. And in the middle of it all, I didn't even realize Logan had wandered in. Chloe stood frozen in the hallway behind him, both of them staring at us like we were strangers. Logan started to cry first, his little hands covering his ears. Then Chloe, her voice cracking, begged us to stop. Please, she said, please, don't fight like this. That moment gutted me. My love for them collided with my rage, leaving me numb. I wanted to protect them from this mess, but I also knew I couldn't give up the only thing that still connected me to my mom. I didn't say another word. I just walked out. David called after me, but I didn't look back. I couldn't. If I had, I might have broken. I didn't ask to be the only one my mom prepared for. I didn't ask to be born into one family and forced into another. I didn't choose any of this. All I'm doing is holding on to the one thing she left me, the one piece of her I still have. Does that make me selfish? I don't know, maybe. But I look at Logan's face when he asks me to read him a bedtime story, or the way Chloe leans against my door frame with a tired smile after a long day at school, and I feel like I'm being pulled in two. Because I love them. But I loved her first. And this money, it's not just money. It's her voice in a world that forgot about her too quickly. It's proof that I mattered to someone completely. So no, I'm not sharing it. Not because I don't care, but because I need something that's just mine. Something she left behind that no one can touch, or twist, or take away. If that makes me the bad guy, I guess I'll have to live with it. But honestly, I'm tired of pretending it doesn't hurt. Would you have done something